Today we're going to continue with our topic of strong instead of exhausted. And if this video has helped you, please comment on it, pass it on to your friends, and you can help us to expand this work, and also that this message will reach people who really can benefit from it. Our title today is Managing Your Energy Storage Well. In the last 2 weeks, we've looked at the fact that we have emotional storage, physical storage, and mental storage, and that we also have spiritual storage places. And today we're going to have a look at a few things, find a few tips, practical advice. How can we deal with our emotional and mental capacities, and how can we fill these storage places? Firstly, it's important that we never compare ourselves with other people. We are all different. You're different. You have different capacities to your neighbor. And even if you're a team leader, you see that even on your team, you have very different people. They all have different capacities, specifically in their daily life. Some can work a full day and persevere with a lot of emotional chats and everything, and it's different from person to person, and it's important that we see this. Secondly, what is important is that we are not driven by the urgent or by the need or by the expectations of people. When we do this, when we're working just because of urgencies and emergencies, and just because people expect things from us, we will see that we will advance beyond our boundaries. And when we do this, we will see very quickly that our energy tanks will deplete. What is important for us is that we determine, why am I here? If we are Christians, we can ask God, what is my purpose in life? What am I called to? I don't want to be a driven person. I want to be called to and carry out what God has required of me, that I can have a purpose to my life, and it's important. And so it's important that I also learn to say no. And this answer will help me keep my boundaries in a healthy place. I can say yes to everybody, but I will soon override my boundaries. And of course there are times when I will help others, but that's not what it's about here. But it's this ongoing thing that we don't see, that our energy levels are empty. Thirdly, decide what your priorities are. And when you know where you are called to, what you're called to, then of course you have that logical application of, where can I set my priorities? What are my priorities? I know what I have to do for this stage in my life. My priorities in this phase of my life is not sitting in front of a computer and updating our database. This is a very important job or task, but my job right now is to inspire, to raise up leaders, to help leaders in their everyday life, to inspire people so that they can become leaders. That is my priority, and that's what I want to give my life for. And when I do this, every day I have that feeling, today I have worked in my calling, and I'm not just doing something that is senseless for me. Fourthly, plan and manage your time. I think it's so important that we consider, where have I used up my time? Where have I invested time? That I can sit down each day and say, today I used up all my hours and invested my hours well. How is it with you? It's important that you can plan well in advance, that we can also look at our times of rest, and for the times of important appointments, that we have those in our diaries. And when we do this, we will be able to keep our emotional storage full and not allow it to run dry. It's important that even in our weekly plan for the month, that we build in time for those things that are emergencies. Sometimes things crop up that are emergencies, and we have that freed up space for that. Fifthly, it's important that we have different parts of the day. Sometimes they say it's important that we divide our day into 3 parts, and that we don't use more than 2 parts for those things that exhaust us emotionally. I know that in the mornings I'll have a talk. If I have a talk that is going to demand a lot of emotional energy, I won't have that kind of appointment again in the afternoon and the evening. No, I'll do something else in the afternoon, something else in the evening, so that all my energy isn't exhausted in one day and mean that I've worked beyond my boundaries. What's important, if you're not quite sure of what the appointment's going to be about, you should at the end say, how do I feel now? What has this appointment done to me? So that you know that in the future you can plan your day better. Number 6, learn to deal with the things you cannot change. Every now and then I have a talk with people who have reached a dead end, or they have reached a place where they just can't change their situation. Maybe 2 years before their pension or retirement, and they say, I just have to keep going for the next 2 years, and then I'll be free for my retirement. Or else I could look for another job. I've spoken to people who work in shifts, and they say, I'm looking for something else, but at the moment I just have to keep going now. And I think it's so important in these areas to say, okay, I cannot change it. I've got to live with this right now, but I've got to find that strength to manage this. And that's where I feel it's very important as Christians that we can give this to God. And this is the advantage we have, that we can give this to God in prayer, and that we can say, Lord, you carry this for me, please. In Philippians 4 verse 6 it says, do not worry about anything, but pray for everything. Tell God what you need and give thanks to Him, and you will experience God's peace, which is greater than our human minds can ever comprehend. His peace will keep your hearts and minds in Jesus Christ. Resolve all your inner conflicts. Number 7. Conflicts rob us of our emotional, mental, and creative strength. So do everything you can to solve these conflicts. Maybe it's an area of where you are, where you stay, relationships. Maybe you actually have battles with yourself. Deal with this problem. Proverbs 14:29 says, he who restrains his anger has much understanding, but he who is quick-tempered commits great folly. Serenity prolongs life, but jealousy destroys it. And the last point, number 8, be wise when there are sources of stress that are known and unavoidable. Maybe you are moving home, maybe changing a job, maybe someone's died in your family, and maybe you've just had your new baby. These are things that we know they're going to cause stress. And that's why it's so wise when we see these things are unavoidable that I'm going through right now, that we are not hard on ourselves and don't then cause a lot of other stress in our lives by doing other things that can cause problems. We see in John 10:10 says, a thief wants to rob, murder, and destroy, but I have come to give them life in all its fullness. I love this Bible verse because it's about Jesus saying He's come to give us life in fullness. I believe it's His will that we lead our lives, that we don't live in an area where we're moving into burnout, that we're emotionally finished, or that our storage is empty. He wants us to live in overflow. And now to close, a question for application. Go through this list again and decide in which area you need the most change. And when you do this, you will see the difference in your life.